Hey, what's up everyone? This is Alfred from Practical Code Academy. Before we start the course, I want to give a small introduction about HTML, CSS, and different web development technologies. We're going to start with the HTML. HTML stands for Hypertext Markup Language. HTML is not a programming language like C++ or JavaScript. It's just a markup language. HTML is used to create web pages. Also, it's required to create any web pages or any websites. You can think about the HTML as the building block of your website or web page. For example, if you want to add an image or you want to add a text to your web page, you have to define them to the browser, and that's when HTML comes to play, because you have to define that your page including an image, and also it's including a text, and also it defined the order of this element inside the document. The image should come before the text, or the text should come before the image, but it shouldn't describe how these elements will look like inside your page. What is CSS? CSS stands for Cascading Style Sheets. CSS is a styling language. So as I said in the example of the image and the paragraph or the text that you have in your page, CSS can define what is the width of your image and what is the height of your image, what is the font size of your text that you want to use, what is the colors of the text that you want to use. So it's more about how you want to present these elements to the user. It's more about the styling them, and it's optional. It's definitely an optional. So that's mean if you have only HTML code, your web page will be ugly. However, if you added the CSS, it will make your web page more appealing to the users. CSS feature can be extended with Sass or less, and we're going to see that in the last module of this course when we're going to explain Sass in details. Now I want to describe front-end technologies that's existing nowadays. As you can see, I'll start here with the required options. You must know HTML, CSS, and JavaScript. So as we said, the HTML will define the elements inside your page. CSS will define how they're going to look like, or how they're going to render inside your browser. JavaScript, it will make your web page more interactive and more dynamic. So if, for example, if you're having a form and the user have to enter something, and based on whatever he enter, you want to show a different message, that's where JavaScript comes to play, because it will be dynamically based on the user inputs, and the user can be interact with your web page. On the other hand, you already have CSS frameworks that existing. And what does a framework mean? That somebody did CSS styling for you and give it some classes, and you can use it directly in your application without knowing anything about them. And one popular one is the Bootstrap. So for Bootstrap, they already styling cards, they styled many components that you can actually use them right out of the box and just using the class, and you don't need to know anything about how they were styled. You also have Materialize CSS, Foundation, Pure CSS, Bulma. There's many CSS frameworks, but this are the popular ones that existing in the market right now. One advantage of using CSS framework that it's rapid prototyping. You can create a web page in literally no time. However, the disadvantage that your web page probably going to look like many other web pages, because other web pages using the same CSS framework. So beside the CSS framework, we have a front-end framework, and that's including Angular, React, Vue.js, and this is like the most popular 3 frameworks that existing nowadays. jQuery is also a front-end framework, however, it's becoming less popular nowadays. So what can front-end frameworks can do? So they actually can do a lot, but I'm going to give you like a small briefing, one of the most important feature in them. Think about it like this: if your code getting bigger and bigger, and it's going to be hard to really maintain or organize, these frameworks will allow you to create components out of your code, smaller components or building blocks of that application. So they easily can be maintained, and they can easily be updated and reused in different projects. And this is pretty much for the front-end technologies. So if you're planning to be a front-end developer, as I said, HTML, CSS, and JavaScript are required. You're probably going to need to know one or more of the CSS frameworks, and one is enough from the front-end framework. Now, what about the back-end technologies? You have a server-side language. For example, we have Node.js, Python, and PHP. And for these languages, they are more like a general purpose languages. So for example, the Node.js, it can be used for developing a network applications or for console application. It's not only for creating a server for your projects. So in order to use this server-side languages only to create your server, it's going to be a lot of work, and you're going to be inventing the wheel. That's the reason there is a server-side frameworks that already out of the box give you all the possibilities that you can use to create a web server. For example, the Express.js, It worked very good. It's just a framework that run on Node.js to create a server. Also for the Django, it worked also with Python. So it's a framework for Python to create a server. And also we have Laravel that is a framework for PHP. So right now you have the language and you have the framework, and usually you use both of them to create a server. Now you need a storage. So for example, you have a web page that having multiple users, and this user have to enter his email and password in order to log in. Where are you going to store all these emails and passwords? You need a storage, or you need a database to store all this, all the users' information. And that's when the database comes to play. And there's two types actually of database. There is no SQL database and there is SQL database. The most popular one for NoSQL is MongoDB, and the most popular one for SQL database is MySQL. So that's it for the front end and the back end. What about full stack? You want to create a full application. So you need the front end of the application and you need the back end of the application also, and you need the storage for that application. That's why we have multiple of popular stacks. The first one here is called main stack, where the M stands for the MongoDB, and that's the storage or the database that this stack using. The E stands for the Express framework, and as I mentioned, the Express work with Node.js. So as you can see, the E and the N related here because that you have the framework and then you have the backend programming language. The A here stands for Angular, and Angular in that case is going to be the front end framework you're going to be using for this stack. So using all these technologies, you can create a full, well-developed program or project using this stack. As you can see, the first three stack here, they're pretty much similar. They have the M, the E, and the N because they all working with NoSQL, MongoDB. Also, they all using Express framework. Also, they're using Node.js as a backend. However, what makes them different is the front end framework. The first stack here, which is the main stack using Angular, the MERN stack using React, and the Maven stack using Vue.js. And what makes the first three so special that you're using JavaScript all the way. So you're using JavaScript in the front end, either any of these frameworks, they're all running on JavaScript. Node.js as the back end is also JavaScript. And also this database storage, it works well with JavaScript. You can program them using JavaScript. So you don't need to know anything. Only by understanding and knowing JavaScript, you can create a full stack application with one of these three stacks. Another popular two stacks, which is the LAMP stack, which stands for Linux, Apache, MySQL, and PHP. So it's using a PHP as the backend programming language, and MySQL as the storage or the database, and also it's using Apache software for the server and the Linux operating system. Also, you have the LAMP stack, which is Linux, NGIX, MySQL, and PHP. So what does HTML and CSS can do? Just only by using HTML and CSS, you can build static websites, like small businesses website, informational websites, that where you can present information. However, you cannot take data from the user and process them and then do something with this data or store this data somewhere. So it's more about presenting informations. Also, you can do the visual or the UI of any application, like a social network, stores, anything. It's just going to be the visual part. You can do front end of the Facebook or Uber application. However, it's not the functionality of the web page itself. It's not going to be working without using any JavaScript or backend application or storage. That's it, guys. I hope this video explained a lot about different technologies that's nowadays existing in the market. If you have any question, please add the question in the comment section of this video. And if you do like the video, please hit the like button. And if you're not subscribed to our channel yet, please subscribe to our channel to get our latest videos.